It's time for another podcast by George. Straight talk, straight from the heartland, that'll have you saying, by George, I think he's got it. Now, here's George.
Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome on in to another podcast by George. Got a live one this morning, got a big one, got a big live line interview for us. Dan Allers, the Fort Myers Beach Councilman, has agreed to come on and talk to us here on the podcast by George live line. I'm really excited about that, and we've got a little commonality here. He's actually out of the heartland. Dan was born and raised in Minnesota. He relocated to Fort Myers Beach in about 2012 or so. He's been on the city council down there. He's also a licensed boat captain. So, I mean, he's well familiar with the area. He knows all about what's going on. He's been on the ground. He's touring this, and it is an American tragedy, folks. Let me put Dan's graphic up on the screen here. Now, he's only able to join by phone this morning. We're hopeful that we can get him back on maybe in video here a little bit later this evening or maybe tomorrow or something like that. But let's see if we can get him on here just on the phone. Good morning, Dan. I mean, the devastation is being shown. I mean, it's cataclysmic. It looks like a war zone down there. But what people don't really think about is this is one of the most beautiful spots on earth. At least it was anyway. Unless you're there, I don't think people realize how bad this is. Could you just describe it for us?
Yeah, video. You've probably seen plenty of videos and pictures, but without seeing it with your own two eyes, I mean, concrete homes were literally twisted off their foundations. Concrete homes were brought down to rubble. Anything that was essentially wood built, for the most part, that was a single story home, is gone. Most everything on the beach, other than high rises and FEMA built homes over the last couple of years, is pretty much gone. All the businesses, even though the buildings may be standing, the insides are completely gutted to the studs. Everything is just washed away. The first couple of days was very difficult. My wife and I stayed on the island. We rode it out in a friend's house. We were at the second story. It was roughly 17 feet up from the ground, and the water was just coming onto the second floor, just about to come onto the second floor. And the wind was blowing about 150 miles an hour. Boats were flying by, just missing windows by inches. I've heard stories of people riding, they tried to ride out the storm in their elevated home, but maybe the old style elevated home that was 10, 12 feet, that was taking on water that the house washed away. They were jumping in freezers to try to ride out the storm. We've lost several of our closest friends and residents. It's pretty devastating. I keep saying it, but it's in my opinion, it's about 90% uninhabitable. Search and rescue is still going on right now. They have the beach closed to anyone to get on for another 5 days or so, 6 days or so, to be able to complete that search and rescue mission. People are still missing their loved ones, haven't talked to them since the day of the storm. Some of that is because, cell phones have died and there's no way to get communication out. So as we walk the streets and we run into people that may be on the list that they're searching for, we can cross them off. So the more we can be out there walking around, myself, I'm out there every day walking around and trying to talk to people and, shorten that list so we can get this island open to start the rebuild.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the rebuild here just briefly in a little bit. But the thing that I'm interested in here now, there's some criticism also going on for folks not leaving. As you mentioned, you wrote it out, that death count now is, I think, into the 60s, and it's going to rise. There are people that probably should have left, and they didn't. In retrospect here, Dan, again, we don't want to cast stones, oh my God, in a tragedy like this or anything like that. But, what do you think about the evacuation? Should more of people have left, you think?
Well, in hindsight, yeah, including myself. The county did put out the evacuation notice for flood zones A, B, and I think eventually C. Unfortunately, a lot of the locals, that had been through Charlie felt that, it's just going to be another Charlie. We'll get a little bit of water. It won't be that bad. Well, as the storm kept going and then started moving east, people forget that although there are some people like myself that chose to stay, there are some people that really, they felt they had nowhere to go. Now the county had shelters set up, state had shelters set up. They did have places to go. For whatever reason, they either didn't know about it or they couldn't get to it. But people thought this was going to be another Hurricane Charlie. And just to give anybody that's listening a little reference, the entire storm, the entire diameter of the storm of Hurricane Charlie would fit inside Hurricane Ian's eye. So that gives you kind of a magnitude of what Charlie was versus what Ian was. And I think it caught everybody off guard. Should more people have heeded the warning? Absolutely. We could say that now, but now's not a time to say should have, would have, could have. In my opinion, now's time to roll up the sleeves, get in and save everyone we can, get the loved ones back to the people for some closure that are never going to come home, and start to rebuild.
Well, let's talk about the rebuild very briefly, because that's another very interesting angle. You know all about this. I mean, your background is in construction. You're a builder. I mean, that was your life. When you look around, can this be done?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It can be done. We've got teams out, starting one on the north end, one on the south end, of inspectors checking the homes, deciding which ones are uninhabitable, which ones can be rebuilt, which ones are going to need their own engineers to do some more work. So can it be rebuilt? Absolutely. We've got, our town staff is working very hard to get to get the water back up and running. We're still without water. Obviously, we're going to be probably without power for a long time. We've been able to get some trailers in for people to be able to shower. We've got constant donations coming in, which is heartwarming. And we're trying to, we've got a couple locations set up where we're receiving all of the donations we can get and getting them over the bridge to the people that need them, that are still there. And then when the people start coming back in a week, we're going to need much more. We're going to need shovels. We're going to need tarps. We're going to need generators. We're going to need power tools. Everything that everybody had, including myself, was completely washed away. So there's a lot of skilled people out there that are ready to get to work. We're just going to need tools to do it. And that's going to probably start up next week. Right now, again, this week is just focusing on getting out as many people as we can that need to get out, want to get out. Some do not want to leave, and that's absolutely their right. So we'll do what we can to keep them fed and water. But we're moving forward. The town will survive. I have no doubt in my mind. We've got a lot of passionate, and some call me stubborn, people that'll make sure that happens.
Now, what about the assistance? I wanted to get to that because you're out of the heartland. You know how people are up here. They want to head that way. They want to help, particularly the fire and rescue guys, people like that. What are you saying to people that want to come down there right now? Do you want them yet? And if you don't want them right now, when do you want them?
Well, this week, I don't want people to come down. We want all the help we can get. Coming down this week would really do nobody any good because we can't get on the island. Unless you're a council member, pretty much you're not getting on the island. So to come down now, there's really not a lot of resources, because it's not just Fort Myers Beach that got hit. San Carlos Island, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Sanibel, Captiva, Pine Island, all these places got hit just as hard. And there's only so many resources in Southwest Florida. There's only so many Home Depots, Lowe's, Walmart, Target. So if people want to, I guess the best way people could help now is if they have anything that they would like to donate or share, skip it down. You've got my contact information. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Ed from Beach Talk Radio.
Yeah.
He's kind of coordinating for us all of the donation stuff. We've got 2 sites set up to be able to receive all the stuff. We've got a box truck that was donated to us to be able to haul the stuff over the bridge as soon as we're allowed to, do that. So we're just trying to get prepared so that when that gate opens, we're ready to go.
Have you got?
So I would say next week would be a better time for anyone that's handy, anyone that can clean up crew, anybody that can, destruction crews, anything like that is what's going to be needed probably in the next week or two to try to do some mold mitigation and get things cleaned out for the houses that can be salvaged, so that we can start getting some homes built up to get people back in them.
And if for people that just want to send money right now, what is there a preferred site for that? Is there, do you recommend, Red Cross or?
Yeah. Well, right now, like I said, Ed with Beach Talk Radio, if you go to his Facebook page, Beach Talk Radio, I don't know what it is. He's got a
Yep.
Venmo and a PayPal account set up.
Yep. I've
He's
donated
dealing
to
with
it.
an accountant.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's kind of coordinating any donations, any monetary donations that people want to send in. They can send it to him. They're going to use all that money to go to all supplies. So he's been very helpful in helping spread the word and get the message out that we're here, we're going to be here, we're going to stay here, we're going to rebuild here. It's just going to take some help, and we appreciate all the help we've gotten so far and continue to get.
Okay, last question, quick one, and it's probably the worst question. Do you expect this death toll to continue to climb? Are we going to see more fatalities come in?
It's very possible. I haven't gotten the update yet as to where we are percentage-wise of checking the island, because now they're going, house to house, street by street. So there's a press conference today at 12 o'clock. I just heard from our Sheriff Marcino. I'm sure he might update that. I haven't gotten those numbers. I haven't gotten that percentages to where we're at. So unfortunately, if you're asking my opinion, yes, I think it's going to go up. I hope it does not, but I think it's going to go up as they continue these searches.
My God. Okay, Dan, go ahead, hang up, go on your way. We'll circle back. I want to come back to either in video or audio here shortly. I appreciate the update, pal. Be safe, be well, and the best to everybody down there.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
Yep. Well, thank you, pal. I mean, that's great. Folks, that's Dan Allers coming to us live this morning down in Fort Myers, Florida. Hopefully that interview was hearable. It sounded good in my headphones anyway. There was a problem with it initially, I think Mary Knox notified us of, but we're going to get back with him, as I mentioned. And folks, again, as always, if you appreciate this kind of insight, we couldn't keep him very long. Now, maybe when we get him back on again, we'll be able to spend longer with him, particularly in video, but he's got his hands full, and it is horrific. Obviously, the death count continues to climb. The tragedy in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. And that was Councilman Dan Allers coming with us on the live line. But if you like hearing this on Podcast by George, do this now for me. Just go to, if you're watching on Facebook, give us a follow, give us a like there. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and you'll be informed of every one of these live lines when they happen there. And of course, if you're listening in audio, you can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Stitcher, Deezer, all those places. But that is going to do it. That's going to wrap it up. That's all there is, and there ain't no more. That's another podcast by George.